Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode here on Talk Daily. Hopefully, you have a great day wherever you are in the world. And today, let's dig into this amazingly juicy story. It's not really amazing or juicy. It just, I think, is very, very eye-opening and shocking because this is something comes from Car and Driver, and it's written by David Vanderwerp. And as always, I have a link to this article in the description below. So this is what happened to Car and Driver when they had this vehicle, the Cadillac CT5-V Blackwing, and they were taken out for testing, for initial data logging testing at the track. If you're not familiar how this thing works, all this media, car media, they usually get cars given to them by the manufacturer. They lease them the vehicle, or they lend them the car, or they give them access, whichever, and they get hold of that car and they do testing, just so it gets written about, it gets publicity, whatnot. That's very common for thing to happen. So Car and Driver have access to this vehicle, the Cadillac CT5-V. They received a brand new. They had to go through the braking period, which I'll give you my opinion about it in a little bit. That's why my opinion. That's why the braking period. But anyway, they do the braking period of this vehicle. They broke it in properly, meaning you don't idle, you don't drive a constant speed for a long period of time. You take it easy. You allow the engine to brake in. This is just engine braking in procedure. You just want all the tolerance on the engine. You just basically expand, contract, and go to a heating cycle in an efficient manner until all the tolerance are within spec, so you can start driving it as hard as you want. So that's what they were doing. Eventually, after they finished the 1,500-mile break-in period, they took it to the track to test it. At the track, they were launching a couple of times. They did 15 startup launches from the LT4 V-8, and then it started misfiring severely. So yeah, that's rough. I mean, they're talking about it. They kept the rev below 4,000 RPM. They did a constant speed. They did not keep it at a constant speed for an extended period of time. That's the braking period. And eventually, when it hit the track with just over 1,800 mile on the odometer to start an initial performance figure, they had some severe misfiring. They couldn't continue any further, and they had to take it to the dealership where they had to swap the engine, and the engine was sent back to headquarters and GM where they inspected it. So this is the even cylinder bank. If you don't know what's going on, looking at it, you can tell like there's some aluminum melted here. This is not supposed to look like that. Oh yeah, as far as like the darker, why it doesn't look shiny, because fuel has a lot of carbon in it. Okay, so now I don't expect this thing to look shiny. Okay, they're shiny when they're brand new, but the issue here that you're seeing is that the powder, that's aluminum, been melted from the right here from the valve. There is some major contact going on here. There was a major amount of heat, so things were literally melting. Another picture shows you that's the piston. Look at it, it's like scorched. And look at, I mean, holy, this is like severe contact. You can tell it's not supposed to be like this. There's basically a lot of rubbing from the piston to the sidewall of the engine, the block. So anyways, according to the engineer from GM, because again, this is bad, right, for publicity, so GM took hold of this engine. So so I'm gonna read from the article saying what happened. That's a good question, one that wasn't answered conclusively, even though a complete teardown at GM Powertrain headquarters in Pontiac, Michigan, where the engine went after it was removed by our local Cadillac dealer. The damage was limited to the even number cylinder bank, with cylinder 6 taking the brunt of the carnage. That's the one I'm showing you right here. Its cylinder wall was scorched and aluminum plucked away from the edge of the piston and sprayed on top of it, as well on the exhaust valve. So that's the picture I showed you. That's the scrape over here. That's the aluminum been picked up, and this piston's inside here, obviously, as you can see in this picture, and it's picked up all the aluminum and sprayed it on top of the valve right here. This is the head of the engine that goes on top of it. That's the spark plug. Okay. I mean, that's awful. And that's the exhaust valve. That's exhaust and that's intake. So the severe temperature and pressure also blew off the ground strap at the end of the spark plug, and even the cast iron cylinder liner showed some pitting. Oof. So what happened? Is saying bad fuel could have caused this pre-ignition or knocking, and then both banks would have been affected. So the small block assistant chief engineer Mike Kosiba, or Shiba, I don't know if I'm saying it right, my apologies. Anyway, Mike said it was likely one of two things that occurred. Either the fuel supply to the side of the wall, the side of the rail, or was somehow depleted, a contaminant restricting the flow somewhere, or a similar blockage in the cooling system that allowed things to get too hot. but during a teardown did not find such blockage in either system. And basically, that's the whole point of it. They're saying that this is the first time this happened. They didn't have it in any other models. Because remember, this engine, they use it in many things. They use it in a C7 Corvette Z06, the Cadillac CTS-V, Camaro ZL1, and the Escalade V, the Blackwing, and the CT5-V, of course. So this engine is very important for GM, and this failure was only limited to, according to GM, the car and driver, the car they had. So my opinion of the matter is this: after looking at all this, my point is, I wish that those manufacturers, when you're buying such a high-end car, an expensive vehicle at this point, they should be breaking in this engine. They should be breaking it at the power plant. They should not give the consumer a car and say, okay, this is, you need to break it in. I mean, look at people. They can't even drive with looking behind them, right? They have those backup cameras, and everybody needs, I need assistant, I need assistant, I don't like driving, I don't want manual and automatic. So the same kind of person, now you're telling him that, oh, understand what knock is. Okay, you have to drive it at 50, 1,050 miles. I think you should do that at the plant. Do that at the manufacturer. Put on an engine dyno and cycle it. A lot of car manufacturers do that. High-end cars, they all do that. You don't buy a high-end, when you're looking at a Porsche, when you're looking at whatever expensive brand you want to think of, and they don't give you an engine and tell you, oh, okay, you have to break it in. I understand breaking in when you're buying a cheaper car, totally understandable, but those are not cheap cars. Those are like $80,000, $90,000, $100,000 car. So, dude, just put it on the dyno, run it. I mean, I know it costs money, and obviously that's why they're not doing it, but they should be doing it, because I would imagine this problem would probably unveil itself at the engine dyno. If they broke it in, the consumer would never get a hold of this engine with the flaw in it. And I think this flaw probably has something odd to do with probably assembly. I don't think this is something to do with the engineering of the engine. But only time will tell. Obviously, there's more of this situation occurs. Only time will tell. But according to this article, it's saying, and according to GM, this is the first time this thing happened. Would a catastrophic failure be a normal occurrence in cars, in brand new cars? Yeah, I mean, mistakes do occur. I mean, tolerances and whatnot. They shouldn't, but it does happen, and occur. Unfortunately, it happened to this vehicle they had. Of course, GM warranted it. I think it took them 6 weeks to take care of the problem. They got a brand new engine, they put it in, and then they took that car after they broke it in, another 1,500 miles breaking it in, and then they took it to the track. That's GM, that's car and driver, and they didn't have any issues with it. So the story has a happy ending, and I'm glad that is the case. But in conclusion, I just think car manufacturers, they should be breaking in their own engines. Especially high-end cars. Low-end cars, I understand. Okay, mass produced, there's a bunch of them. I don't have time. You don't pay that much. You get what you pay for. But high-end cars, I don't see the problem. Putting this engine on an engine dyno and just cycling it and running it and just getting it, basically break it in for the consumer. I don't see a reason why they don't do so. And that's in conclusion. Anyways, as always, take care, and I'll see you next time. And if your engine blows up, it's and a side note, it is really, really, really a horrible thing. Okay, it's very expensive, so I'm glad it was covered under warranty. All right, this is it. All right, take care, everybody. I'll see you next time. Bye bye.